Do your legs feel less steady than they used to? Most older adults assume that's just old age, something inevitable. But if you're watching this video from the elderly way, you'll know there are things we can absolutely do differently. Statistics show, after the age of 60, leg strength can decline by up to 3% every year, even if you haven't had any accidents or major health issues. What concerns us even more is this. Most older adults have no idea why their legs are getting weaker, especially in the morning. And this is what we want to share with you today at the Elderly Way. Regaining leg strength can begin within just 12 hours. No joke. No medication, just eating the right foods. No gimmicks. No vague therapies. This is real data, proven on real people, older adults just like you with real results. Noticeable improvements in endurance, strength, and reduced pain. The key lies in choosing foods that directly support your muscles, improve blood circulation, and ease inflammation. The three core issues behind tired, weak, and stiff legs. At the Elderly Way, we've identified 8 foods that have been thoroughly researched, tested, and ranked from least to most effective. Among them, one, ranked number 3, showed it could boost leg muscle strength by over 36% in just one day, according to a recent clinical study. And the surprising part, almost no one eats it regularly. We don't rely on guesses. Everything in this video is based on scientific research, and you can check the sources listed in the description below. Before we continue, we'd love for you to interact with us. Drop a comment with the name of the city or country you're watching from. This isn't just a channel. The Elderly Way is a community, and every response from you is a valuable part of this journey. Now let's get started with the food ranked number 8, the first step in helping your legs truly get back to supporting your life in just one day. 8. Pumpkin seeds, minerals for your legs right in the palm of your hand. Pumpkin seeds aren't usually mentioned when it comes to muscle health or physical mobility. But that's exactly why they're often underrated. For older adults, they are an extremely important source of minerals to maintain mobility, balance, and prevent muscle cramps. Why are they important? Pumpkin seeds are rich in magnesium, a mineral that helps coordinate muscle and nerve function. In older adults, magnesium levels tend to decline with age, but this often goes unnoticed. When magnesium is low, the body struggles to regulate nerve signals properly, leading to muscle stiffness, especially in the calves at night, instability when walking, a feeling like the knees are giving out, muscle cramps even during light activity like climbing stairs or standing for long periods. A study published in the journal Magnesium-Rich found that adults over 60 with low magnesium levels experienced nearly twice as much leg fatigue during a walking test compared to those with higher magnesium levels. But it's not just about magnesium. Pumpkin seeds also contain zinc, supports the production of growth hormone and testosterone, both key factors in maintaining muscle mass. Unsaturated fats help reduce inflammation in joints and muscle tissue. Fiber improves digestion and enhances mineral absorption, which often declines in older adults. How older adults should use them. Dosage. About 2 tablespoons per day, approximately 20-30 g is enough. Soak overnight. This helps remove phytic acid, a compound that can inhibit mineral absorption. How to eat. Sprinkle over morning oatmeal, mix into unsweetened yogurt, blend into smoothies, or eat on their own as a snack. Note: use raw seeds, unsalted, not burnt or over-roasted. If you have high blood pressure or are taking diuretics, pumpkin seeds are a great alternative to salty or sugary snacks. Results may be noticeable within a few hours. Legs feel lighter, reduced cramping when stretching, and better sleep thanks to magnesium's role in calming the nervous system. 7. Tart cherry juice. More than just juice, it's a fast-track recovery therapy. In the world of muscle recovery foods, tart cherry juice is a silent hero. Especially for older adults, those who often feel soreness after walking, climbing stairs, or light exercise. What makes this juice stand out? Anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants found in tart cherries, help reduce inflammation, boost blood flow, and speed up muscle recovery. Reduces lactic acid, the substance responsible for post-exercise soreness. Drinking this juice helps flush out lactic acid faster, preventing that prolonged, tight feeling in the muscles. Takes effect in just 8–12 hours. Users often feel less soreness, more flexibility, and lighter legs by the next morning or even the same afternoon. A study in the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine and Science in Sports found that older adults who drank tart cherry juice twice a day experienced a 23% reduction in muscle soreness, along with increased strength in their thigh muscles. The key muscle group involved in standing up, balancing, and walking steadily. How to use it correctly, which kind to choose. 100% pure tart cherry juice, unsweetened and not mixed with grape, apple, or strawberry juices. Dosage: 6–8 Oz, 180–240 ml per day, either once or split into 2 servings. When to drink it: after light activity like walking or physical therapy, or in the evening to ease nighttime muscle pain and support better sleep. 2 Tart: mix with a bit of water, but avoid adding sugar or honey. Who should consider using it? People who often experience thigh or knee pain after activity. Those who have trouble sleeping due to nighttime cramps or soreness. Individuals recovering from injuries or mild strokes, undergoing rehab. Beyond supporting the legs, tart cherry juice also benefits blood pressure and sleep quality by naturally increasing melatonin levels. This is a major plus for older adults seeking a multifunctional, safe, and natural solution. Number 6. Cooked spinach, a nutrient powerhouse that activates leg muscles. Spinach, also known as bo xoi in Vietnamese, is often seen as a basic side dish. But for older adults, it's actually one of the key foods that can significantly and quickly improve leg strength. Why is this vegetable so important? It contains natural nitrates, which, once inside the body, convert into nitric oxide, a molecule that dilates blood vessels and increases circulation to the lower limbs. It's also rich in magnesium, potassium, and iron, 3 essential minerals for muscle contraction, nerve signaling, and delivering oxygen to muscles. Notably, when cooked, the heat breaks down oxalates, compounds that block calcium and iron absorption, making it easier for the body to absorb these minerals. A study published in Frontiers in Physiology found that older adults who regularly ate nitrate-rich foods like spinach improved lower leg performance by up to 16%. Another study in the Journal of Nutrition reported that just 12 hours after eating a serving of cooked spinach, adults over 65 experienced noticeably faster walking speed and better endurance. The reason lies in better blood circulation. When circulation improves, leg muscles receive more oxygen and nutrients, reducing fatigue, speeding up recovery, and allowing for more flexible movement. Best ways for older adults to eat it: don't overboil, it destroys nutrients. The best methods: lightly sauté with garlic and olive oil. Steam briefly, then mix into eggs or thin porridge. Add a squeeze of lemon juice or a few slices of garlic to enhance iron absorption. Eat 1 cup during lunch or dinner, 3–5 times a week. Signs you may need more spinach: legs feel heavy or hard to lift, tiring quickly from standing or moving slowly, lacking push when going uphill or climbing stairs. You don't need to eat a lot. Consistency and proper preparation are what make the difference. Number 5. Lentils, sustainable energy for older adult muscles. While many foods offer short-term energy, lentils deliver nutrients in a steady, long-lasting way, ideal for older adults working to restore leg muscle function. What makes lentils stand out? They provide slow-digesting carbohydrates that keep energy levels stable for hours. They're rich in protein, especially leucine, an amino acid crucial for triggering muscle regeneration. They contain potassium, magnesium, and iron, 3 minerals vital for muscle recovery after activity. A study in the Journal of Gerontology found older adults who ate lentils daily for 2 weeks increased leg endurance by 22%, improved balance, and had better muscle reflexes compared to those who ate refined carbs like white bread or white rice. Additionally, lentils help stabilize blood sugar, preventing post-meal leg weakness or shakiness. Are high in prebiotic fiber, supporting a healthier gut, which improves nutrient absorption, especially in older adults with weaker digestion. Easy to digest, non-bloating preparation tips. Use dry, unsalted, non-canned lentils. Cook with turmeric, garlic, lemon juice, and simmer until soft, 20–30 minutes. Try making vegetable lentil soup. Mashed lentils mixed with cooked greens. Serve with quinoa or spinach as a side dish. Just 1 cup of lentils at lunch or dinner can help replenish leg muscles overnight, reducing fatigue and improving balance by morning. Especially helpful for those who often feel leg fatigue in the afternoon, people who feel wobbly or weak when standing up, anyone recovering from muscle loss due to inactivity, stroke, or long-term bed rest. Number 4. Salmon, a food that rebuilds leg muscles from the ground up. Salmon is widely known for its heart health benefits, but for older adults, it's especially effective in restoring and maintaining leg muscle strength, particularly for those who frequently experience weak knees, difficulty standing up, or slow walking. Why is salmon important for aging muscles? Salmon is one of the few natural foods that combine 3 essential nutrient groups: high-quality protein, to rebuild weakened or damaged muscle fibers; omega-3 fatty acids EPA and DHA, to reduce inflammation in muscles, support blood flow, and speed up recovery; natural vitamin D, to enhance calcium absorption, stabilize muscle contractions, and prevent cramps. According to a study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, older adults who ate salmon 3 times a week for 10 days increased their leg strength and mobility by 24%, especially in the thighs and knees, areas that typically weaken with age. Another study showed that simply adding dietary omega-3s helped seniors walk longer distances with less fatigue compared to those who didn't supplement. Easy ways to use at home. Choose wild-caught salmon instead of farmed, as it contains more omega-3s and fewer toxins. Cooking methods. Grill or lightly pan-sear with lemon, garlic, herbs, and olive oil. Avoid deep frying or using sugary sauces. Recommended portion: 100–120 g per serving, 2–3 times per week at dinner to support overnight muscle recovery. You should consider eating salmon if you feel weak in your legs when standing up from a chair, frequently have knee pain or trouble bending, straightening your thighs, experience mild joint inflammation, or take muscle pain relievers. Number 3. Quinoa, a complete plant protein that rebuilds muscle without meat. If you're trying to reduce red meat intake or struggle to digest animal proteins, quinoa is an ideal alternative to supply leg muscles with protein and essential minerals. What makes quinoa unique? It's one of the rare plant-based foods that contain all 9 essential amino acids, helping to build and repair muscles just as effectively as meat or fish. It provides magnesium, potassium, iron, and vitamin E, which support blood circulation, reduce inflammation, and prevent cramps. It digests slowly, helping maintain stable energy for hours and preventing fatigue or energy crashes later in the day. A study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition showed that adults who ate quinoa instead of white carbs after exercise experienced less muscle soreness and noticeably improved endurance. Another study in Brazil found that seniors who ate quinoa at lunch performed better in walking tests the following morning than those who had rice or bread. How to prepare for older adults. Rinse quinoa thoroughly before cooking to remove its natural bitterness, saponins. Cook with water or light vegetable broth until soft and fluffy, about 15–20 minutes. Serve with boiled eggs, spinach, lean white meat, or add to soups. Eating quinoa in the afternoon or evening helps, stabilize blood sugar levels, maintain energy throughout the night, reduce nighttime leg cramps. Quinoa is especially suitable for vegetarians, those who feel tired after high-carb meals, people aiming to build muscle but have trouble digesting meat or fish. Number 2. Beetroot boosts blood flow and awakens leg muscle power within hours. Beetroot is often overlooked due to its earthy taste, but for older adults, it's one of the most powerful foods for improving circulation and restoring lower body movement. What sets beetroot apart is its high natural nitrate content. Once inside the body, nitrate converts to nitric oxide, a compound that dilates blood vessels and increases oxygen delivery to muscles, especially in the legs, where circulation tends to weaken with age. A study in the Journal of Gerontology found that older adults who drank beetroot juice before walking improved their speed and leg strength by 19% within just a few hours. Another study showed that just one daily dose of beetroot juice helped reduce blood pressure and increased arterial flexibility, both of which support better movement and reduce fatigue. Most effective ways to use. Fastest option. Pure beetroot juice with no sugar or dilution. Drink one small glass, 100–150 ml, in the morning or 30 minutes before walking, if raw juice is too strong. Steam or roast beetroot and blend with apple, carrot, or orange into a smoothie. Signs you should try beetroot. Legs often feel heavy, stiff, or weak. You walk slowly or tire quickly, even over short distances. You feel numbness or cold in your feet even in warm weather. Note: people taking blood pressure medication or with kidney disorders should consult a doctor before consuming large amounts of raw beetroot. 1. Bone broth, the liquid nutrient for complete leg muscle recovery. Bone broth isn't just a traditional soup. For older adults, it's a powerful supplement for a musculoskeletal system that weakens over time. Especially for those with joint pain, slow mobility, or difficulty recovering after physical activity, this is a food that should be a regular part of the diet. Why is bone broth effective? Bone broth contains collagen, the structural foundation of muscles, tendons, and joints. Gelatin supports joint lubrication and softens connective tissues. Essential amino acids like glycine and proline promote muscle tissue regeneration and fight inflammation. Natural electrolytes, including potassium, calcium, and magnesium, which help stabilize nerve transmission and muscle contractions. According to a study published in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition and Metabolism, elderly individuals who consumed collagen-rich bone broth daily increased muscle strength and flexibility by 36% in just 1 week. Another study from Japan found that within just 24 hours, glycine in bone broth improved leg muscle recovery speed by over 40% after physical exertion. The reason for the rapid recovery is that the nutrients in bone broth are in liquid form, making them easy to absorb, unlike other animal proteins that require complex digestion. Instructions for older adults. Homemade is best. Use free-range chicken bones or grass-fed beef bones. Simmer for at least 12 hours with apple cider vinegar, onions, garlic, and mild herbs to extract maximum minerals and collagen. If store-bought, choose unsalted, additive-free versions made from natural bones. Drink while warm, preferably in the morning on an empty stomach, or after walking, exercising, or physical therapy. Consume 150–200 ml per serving. Avoid reheating multiple times in a single day. Common benefits within just a few hours. Legs feel softer and more flexible. Reduce joint stiffness, especially in knees and ankles. More confident walking, less fatigue, easier to stand up. 5 morning tips to boost the effectiveness of 8 leg muscle recovery foods. To get the most out of the recovery foods mentioned, older adults should adopt the following simple morning habits. These tips not only enhance nutrient absorption, but also shorten the time it takes to feel results. Tip 1. Drink beetroot or tart cherry juice on an empty stomach. These two juices help increase blood flow to the legs, reduce inflammation in muscle tissues, boost nitric oxide, which dilates blood vessels and delivers more oxygen to muscles. How to use: drink 180-240 ml of pure, unsweetened juice first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Don't combine with breakfast. Sip slowly, at least 30 minutes before eating. Common result after 1 hour: less joint stiffness, easier movement. Tip 2. Always combine protein plus slow-digesting carbs in meals. Older bodies need steady energy to use protein effectively for muscle recovery. So, don't just eat salmon or drink bone broth alone. Combine with quinoa or lentils to stabilize blood sugar and reduce midday muscle fatigue. Sample ideal meals. Lunch: salmon plus quinoa plus spinach. Dinner: bone broth plus lentil soup plus steamed vegetables. Tip 3. Drink bone broth 20-30 minutes after physical activity. The period right after movement is when muscles absorb nutrients most effectively. Even after light walking or stretching, drink a warm cup of bone broth. This will speed up muscle recovery, reduce pain and inflammation in knees or calves, prevent late-onset soreness at night. Tip 4. Cramping: use soaked pumpkin seeds first thing in the morning. Magnesium, potassium, and zinc in pumpkin seeds help stabilize nerve-to-muscle signaling, reduce mild twitching or foot tremors after long sitting, lower risk of cramping when getting out of bed. How to use: soak 2 tablespoons of raw pumpkin seeds overnight. Eat with fresh fruit or add to thin porridge smoothies in the morning. Tip 5. Add cooked spinach to breakfast. A small amount of nitrate-rich spinach at breakfast can boost blood circulation to the legs throughout the day. Lightly sauté with olive oil and garlic and mix into eggs, porridge, or quinoa. Just 1 cup of spinach a day can improve walking speed, reduce heaviness in the legs when standing for long periods, support recovery after stroke or muscle weakness. You've just learned about 8 types of foods that not only help build muscle, but can start making a difference in as little as 12 hours. This isn't a sales pitch. It's all backed by real scientific research, data, trials, and feedback from real people, many of whom are around your age. Each food plays its own role. Pumpkin seeds provide magnesium, reduce cramps, and support muscle contraction. Tart cherry juice reduces inflammation and helps muscles recover faster. Beets improve blood flow to the legs, especially effective for people who walk slowly or often have leg pain. Bone broth adds collagen and amino acids, helps joints stay flexible and muscles recover quickly. When you combine these foods, you're not just eating to feel full. You're improving circulation, replenishing age-related micronutrient deficiencies, helping your leg muscles regain strength, stability, and resilience. Weak legs aren't just about aging. In many cases, they're the result of poor nutrition, low absorption, and slow recovery. The good news is, you can absolutely change that starting with your next meal. This is a simple challenge, but it can seriously improve your quality of life. Pick one of the 8 foods above, the one that best suits your taste or condition. Eat it consistently for just 1 day. The next morning, pay attention to how your legs feel. You might notice less pain, find it easier to stand up, or feel more balanced when you walk. Then try a different food. Don't change everything at once. Just add one new thing each day. Step by step, spoon by spoon, you're rebuilding the foundation of your body's movement. So, which food are you thinking of trying first? Share it in the comments. Your story might help someone else regain the confidence to walk strong again. If you found this information helpful, hit like and share it with friends, family, or older adults who could use it. And if you want more clear, practical, science-backed health guidance, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And finally, remember this: your legs are your foundation. Nourish them right, and you'll go farther steadier every single day.